Good morning. We are in the kitchen again, finally back in the kitchen, I should say. Talked about it yesterday, the day before, said I'd get back in. The shirt, just real quick, have a little pink bralette underneath. And then this is a crocheted sweater. And it's the white open with the pink flower centers. I got this, if you're local, I got this in Bisbee at Demand Piece. And they're a small business. I can't remember how much it was. And then I just have on a pair of blue jeans. I got them from the Calvin Klein outlet. And my flip-flops. So that's our cooking fit for today. And I've done a bunch of prep work for today because I have a conference call I need to get on. So I just want you to know this is a simple recipe. I have made this once before in a previous morning check-in. I talked about it. My husband loved it so much, he asked for me to make it again. So here we are. We're going to make it again. And I just want to go ahead and kind of give you a little overview of what I've done. So it's called a mise en place, right? I'm probably mispronouncing it, but it's where you get everything together and everything prepared so that you can just make your meal. So I was up early this morning and I went ahead and did all the prep work so we can just throw it together. So I'll show you real quick what we got here, what's going on, and then we'll get to cooking. Okay, so 2-cup measure cup, because this recipe calls for 1.5 to 2 cups of beef broth. I didn't have any beef broth. I also don't need to buy beef broth because I have this. Okay, it's called Better Than Bouillon. They make plenty of flavors. And it is a paste. It's highly concentrated. The instructions on how to use it are here. It's 1 teaspoon to 8 ounces of water. Well, 1 teaspoon in the water, which will be equivalent to an 8-ounce can in this case or 8-ounce container of the beef broth. 8 ounces is a cup. I need 2 cups, so I'm going to be using 2 teaspoons and 2 cups water. It has garlic in it. I'm choosing to do the crushed red pepper, salt and pepper. I did prep all the spices here as well. Tomato paste. And the recipe calls for the Tony, and I'm again probably going to mangle this, Sachery Creole seasoning. Recipe called for salt-free. I don't have the salt-free one. So what I did was reduced the salt that the recipe called for. So it called for a teaspoon of salt. I just used this tiny little spoon and sprinkled some sea salt in there. Smoked paprika. This is my paprika. Yes, it's almost gone, but I have more, don't you worry. Worcestershire sauce, red and orange pepper, cabbage, a whole diced onion, garlic, and hamburger meat, which I have already cooked. Okay, and the recipe says to leave the grease from the hamburger meat in. It goes against everything, everything that I am for when it comes to cooking. Like, you get as much of the fat out as possible, but then you're going to add more fat in. So what I did, considerably less. Okay, I poured most of the fat out into this coffee cup and just left a little bit in there. And this coffee cup, I think I've talked about this before. This was a little Mother's Day gift from Nick back when he was in elementary school. And I'm not a coffee or tea drinker, but he got it for me and I've kept it all these years, and it is starting to fade. That's okay. So that is all the prep for our recipes. I'm going to be doing another recipe, so I've prepped that as well. We're going to get my cup out of your way. We're going to do one thing at a time though. Okay. So we're going to do this. It's called filthy cabbage. We're going to do that first. And then we're going to come back and do this. I saw this recipe yesterday. Of course, I change things around. I make things a little bit my own. And we'll talk about that when we get there. However, right now, this is going to be what we're going to be working with and on. And it does come together really quickly. So that's the intro on the recipe, and we'll go ahead and get you set up for the cooking. There you go. All right, we are back. Had to enlist the help of Jeff. Otherwise, I'm climbing over the counter to try and start the video. So he very kindly got up and started that for me. I did pin my hair back just because it was kind of getting in my face, and it annoys me when that happens. All right, so we have everything together. I'm going to go ahead and just turn the heat back on. I'm going to get this going again. Does not take very long. Ooh. Gas stove. I did mix the better than bouillon with the water, and this is already starting to sizzle, so you may already hear that. Okay. All right, so the recipe tells you to push the hamburger meat to one side. Okay. And then add in the tomato paste. Calls for 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. I am going to turn that heat down because this gets hot fast. I figure, that snapped at me. I figure there's probably about 1.5 tablespoons left in this tube. I think these tubes of tomato paste are probably the best thing going because, you know, when you make a recipe that calls for tomato paste, it usually wants what, 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, and then you have this can. And then what are you doing? You're trying to get a container to put it in, or you end up throwing it away because you don't know when you're going to use it next. All right, another bit more of tomato paste. There we go. It says to mix that in. And then we're going to add the onion into this. We're mixing that tomato paste in with our hamburger meat. When I made this the last time, as always, I'm cooking on vibes here. So I added more tomato paste, which I think I'm going to do again. Okay. Yeah. Between that and the paprika, you get the color, flavor. All right, happier with that. And I'll just kind of tilt this. You can see nothing really exciting happening here just yet. We're going to go ahead and put the onion in. This is a whole diced onion. So I did that this morning early. And we're going to pop that in. Boom. All that onion. A lot of onion. Only 1 onion. That's a lot. My husband loves onion, loves garlic. I do as well. I like my onion cooked. I'm not a big raw onion fan. You can eat it no problem. All right, so just give you a little step-by-step there. Right? There is the onion mixed in with the hamburger meat. It says cook it 2 to 3 minutes. And I'm going to make this. I started this intentionally to show you how quickly it goes together. Yes, I did the prep work, right? What did it take me for prep work? Honestly, maybe 15 minutes, because this isn't a fine dice on anything. These are kind of chunks of cabbage, chunks of the pepper. The onion is diced. That took a little bit longer, but we've already talked about different ways to cut onions. So I did one of the quicker ways. So gonna let those onions kind of cook up just a little bit more. And I'm gonna add some of this fat back in. I just don't like a mess. I don't like a mess. Okay. I'm adding this fat back in for a couple of reasons. One, it's already cooking down. And two, we're going to be adding some oil, or not oil, goodness. We're going to be adding some flour into this, which is going to help create a roux. Okay. I'm doing mine in a wok. If you've got a big pan, use a big pan. Okay, and this recipe called for 2 pounds of ground beef. And yes, it's just the two of us. Yes, this is a lot. And my husband ate every bit of it. I think I had one small bowl of it when I made it the first time, and he ate the rest of it. He really liked it. So we're just going to go ahead and follow the recipe. You can always cut the recipe, right? I mean, you want to make less, cut it in half. All right, we're going to go ahead and add the peppers in next. And I'll show you how I like the size that I kind of cube these. So they're just, you can see they're not real big. And I've got beautiful red and the orange. Whoop. I have PR right behind me, so she is hoping for anything that I spill. She is my sous chef, but only so much so that she can, whatever she can get. Alrighty. So, onions have cooked down quite a bit. Peppers don't take that long to cook. And I want them to have a little more crunch. Told you in the past, Jeff's all about soft foods. He's got teeth. He doesn't need to worry about that. Not yet. Right now, we both have teeth. We're good. We need to use them. All right, we're going to add in the flour and stir that in. So that's going to coat the vegetables and the meat, kind of creating a roux is what it's called. That's 3 tablespoons of flour, just so you know. Coats it so that when we add the liquids, it will start, the sauces will thicken. Okay. So, flour's in. Here's our spices. It was 3 tablespoons of the Tony's Szechuan, 1 tablespoon of the paprika, and then it called, or tablespoon? Yeah, tablespoon. And it called for, like I said, a teaspoon of the salt, but because I don't have the salt-free Cajun spice mix, and the bouillon is very salty. So I just kind of put a pinch of salt in there, and I use sea salt, not table salt. And I know it sounds crazy, but salt is like a whole nother thing where most of us are used to like table salt, iodized salt. It is very salty. Sea salt, not so salty. The pink Himalayan salt, also not so salty, even less so than the kosher salt. So, okay, we're there. It also calls for a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, and cooking on vibes here. We're just going to go ahead. This is also salty, right? So we don't really need to add a bunch of salt. Probably about a tablespoon in there. It will highlight the flavor of the beef. Okay, and that's also another little trick you could use. Like if you wanted to kind of start to back away from the beef, right? And you want to use chicken or turkey. However, whoever you're cooking for really doesn't like the ground turkey or chicken. They say they don't like the taste or the flavor, or it's dry. You can add some of that Worcestershire sauce to it and it will give it a little more hearty flavor. All right, we're going to turn this down. We're going to put some garlic in here. Okay. It calls for, I don't remember how much it calls for, and it doesn't matter because we're measuring with our heart when it comes to garlic. Okay, I said my husband loves garlic, loves onion, so we are just going ahead and putting it in there. I remember one day I was making something that was very garlicky. I'm like, oh my God, I smell like garlic. And he's like, oh, it's my favorite perfume. So I'm going to go with that's the Italian in him. And it seems like a lot of garlic, but it's okay. It's going to be fine. It's not going to overpower anything. And since I am running it through this garlic press, it's going to cook down. You're just going to get this yummy flavor. That should be good. I made a mess. Okay. There's that. Pop that garlic back in there. And get those bits that kind of splashed onto the edge of the pan, off the edge of the pan, and mix them in there. Now my flour is already starting to stick to the bottom of the pan. It's not burning, so I'm not worried about that, because as soon as I pour that beef broth in there, then that's going to start to come up. Okay. Get that ready. Let's pour our beef broth in. Yes. And I'm going to go ahead and just to get that last little bit of flavor, just add a smidge more water in there to clean that out. And there we are. Okay. And then I'm just going to stir this very so gently so that we're not making any more mess than necessary. And you can feel, you can feel when things are stuck to the bottom of the pan. So I'm just kind of scraping that up because that's where all that flavor is. It's called fond, F-O-N-D. And you intentionally want that. We don't want it to burn, right? But when you are cooking things, this is already starting to thicken up. Okay, so anyway, when you're cooking things, the stuff that sticks to the bottom is the fond. Excuse me. And that's your flavor. All right, we're going to toss this cabbage in. It is a whole head of cabbage, and I did kind of cube this so you can see like how big I made the pieces. And I'm not going to really worry about pulling all the leaves away from one another because as it cooks, that's going to just happen naturally. Okay. So here we go. Adding the cabbage. Cabbage does not take long to cook. I will turn the heat up on this, and we're going to very gently make the stirring here so that we're not making a mess. Okay, so I will turn the heat up. And I did not grab the cover for this. But once I get this all mixed in, then we're just going to cover it and let the cabbage wilt. And it's done. And it is really good. And of course, if you don't like cabbage, then this is not a recipe for you. Okay. And if you don't want to use hamburger meat, substitute whatever you want. Chicken, turkey, you could do pork, ground, of course. And if you are vegetarian or vegan, use some sort of crumble. Use a soy crumble. The Beyond Beef does a faux hamburger meat. So grab that. Use that in there. Okay. And I believe the Worcestershire has a little bit of beef in it. So, and don't quote me on that. I would have to look that up again. I did look it up once before. So if that doesn't work for you, usually in vegetarian dishes, again, don't quote me on it, but the aminos, liquid aminos, will also give you a beefy flavor. But I don't know if they are vegetarian or not. Okay. All right. This is done. It's going to take maybe 10 minutes once I cover it for this cabbage to wilt down and cook. And in that 10-minute time, I will go ahead and clean up those few dishes that I have here. And just so you know, this has only been 30 minutes. Okay. So it was 30 minutes for me to put everything together, maybe 15 for the prep. So 45 minutes, you have dinner in under an hour. Come on. And this is an easy one. This was not hard. And yes, I'm making this early in the day, but like I said, I have a conference call to get on. I have another video that I want to shoot for you. And because I have work to do, I also don't want to have to worry about it. You know, now whenever Jeff's hungry, he can eat it for lunch, dinner, whatever he wants. Right? I'll tell him when it's done, because otherwise he'll bite into this raw cabbage and be like, this isn't as good as it was the last time. And the last time I did it, I used the head of cabbage and I added some shredded cabbage that I had in the refrigerator already. So do you have to make it into these chunks? No. Can you use shredded cabbage? Absolutely. If you don't like chunky bits, give it a smaller dice. Right? Make it how you and your family are going to eat it. Because if your family doesn't eat it, what's the sense in cooking it, right? If you don't like it, what's the sense in cooking it? And not all of us that are cooking have families, so I'm not putting that out there. And, you know, my neighbors end up getting food because, as you can see, it's two of us, and look at the size of this pot. So there it is. And that was 2 cups of liquid. There's no liquid in here. It's just like a thicker sauce now. And that's where, as I explained, that flour helps to thicken it. Okay. All right. Well, that is dinner tonight. Well, that's one dinner tonight. We're going to have 2. Like I said, I'm going to make another meal altogether. And we are going to do that one together later. I'll make it today. Maybe I'll have that tonight instead of this. Maybe I'll just pop it in the fridge, and then he'll have something different for dinner or lunch tomorrow. Already the cabbage is cooking down and wilting, and I haven't even covered it yet. And the bigger chunks breaking up, no problem. You know, cabbage can be really tight. So, yeah, beautiful. Okay. And I want to just go ahead. I'm going to turn the heat way down on this. I'm going to come around to grab the camera, so I'm going to be off camera for a moment. But I just want you to see this because it really does look really good. Coming around and just going to grab the whole tripod. Hi. Here we go. Other side of the kitchen. And there it is. Already ready to eat and super yummy. So there we are. I hope that you enjoyed the filthy cabbage. It is a recipe I found online. When I look at the recipe again, I will see who it is that we can credit for it, if that's saved. And if not, I am by no means taking credit for this recipe. It is not my recipe. It is something I saw online, and I do want to give the creator their kudos if I can find it. If it's saved with the recipe, I most certainly will tell you. All right. So I thank you very much for watching. Make it. Tell me how you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you very soon. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, no matter where you're at. Please do like, share, subscribe, comment. Oh, you can see the mirror behind me. And that'll help grow our channel. So thank you very much, and I will be speaking to you very soon.